beautiful.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You're doing an amazing job. I'm great.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you because you already know I look up to you so much in this
Aw.
Montessori parenting thing. So, can you tell everybody else a little bit about you?
So I'm the face of Montessori Madre, and it's just a space where I document our Montessori at home journey with my 18-month-old Papa. Um, and I really just created the space so that there would be a little bit more representation in the Montessori community, with people of color and people who look like us. And it was just important because I didn't see that when I was looking for it. And so that's kind of what brought us to documenting our journey.
Well, I'm so grateful because that's definitely my story. I was like, I don't see anybody that looks like me doing this whole Montessori thing. So, can you tell us a little bit about what Montessori is and what is child-led learning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's funny because Darren asked me to come on here and talk about child-led learning, and I don't feel like an expert, but I'll share a little bit about kind of like where we are. One of the things that attracted me to Montessori at home is this idea of, I know we're talking like all this is all about natural parenting. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
Mama SoKo is all about natural parenting, and for me, like this was the most natural way to go about curating a home, an environment, and a learning space for my son. And so it was just what I thought would be the most empowering way to create a space. So oftentimes when you think about learning, there's like that top down approach. When you think about school, when you think about, you know, teachers.
Yep.
And in Montessori, the philosophy is mostly kind of like having a collaborative experience with the students, where it's non-hierarchical, where it's kind of tuning in. And so I feel like for me, that was just the most natural way to go about it. Montessori, you know, Montessori schools, they look at the child's strengths, they
Mm-hmm.
look at what they can do, versus like coming at it from again, like I'm gonna teach you your ABCs, right?
Yes.
It's also a very like sensorial type of learning, which I think is again very natural. If you think about a child that like comes into the world, I know we're talking a lot about like, you know, you guys are talking about births and stuff. A child like wants to learn. They're not just sitting there, like you don't have to do much for them to explore their
Exactly.
environment. And so again, it just went with like my values.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know not only are you a Montessori mom, but you also are bilingual. So can you talk just a little bit about why you wanted to raise your son bilingual and the benefits of that? Just share a little bit.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's funny because like when I was when I had just had my son, it was less about trying to do all the things. Like I wasn't trying to be a Montessori parent. I wasn't trying to even be a bilingual parent. I was just trying to get that baby to latch and recover from my own like birth trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't until later on where I would have the like emotional capacity to like look around and figure out how can we thrive? How can we,
Yes.
you know, do the
Yes.
most? How can we do the best, you know,
Here.
for our family? It was including that bilingualism.
Okay.
And it really came from support. It really came from seeing other moms who were also Latin moms who were doing it. Obviously, I speak Spanish and I was brought up speaking Spanish, but I was also raised here. I was educated in the United States. And
Okay.
so for me, it was kind of getting uncomfortable and kind of relearning like, okay, what does this look like for my family? Because it's a lot different than when it looked like for my mom to, you know, raise me as a bilingual child. And so for me, it was culture. Like that was extremely important to me, being able
Okay.
to raise my son in a space where he could speak to his elders, but also people in the community who identified with, who he will identify with as Latino and Hispanic. And also the benefits of, yeah, we live in a very diverse, you know, world where that exchange of language is needed. That, you know, everywhere I've worked, I've used my language, my Spanish in some way. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was very important to me and worth the, you know, extra work of kind of code switching with each
Right.
language. Yeah.
So we did have a question. Somebody wanted to know, when did you start your Montessori journey? I think that's the question.
So we actually started our Montessori journey when I realized my son needed toys, because I was kind of like that. Oh, he doesn't need toys. Just get some bowls and he'll bang on them, you know. So in that sense, I was, I guess, Montessori from the start, or a close start. But it wasn't until I started researching and doing a little bit more reading to figure out, okay, what do I want this learning space? Because I am going to stay home with my child.
Mm-hmm.
And that was around the time that he was, I want to say between like 7 and 10 months is when I started, you know, educating myself, because that's where it starts. It's really about looking inwardly and
Uh-huh.
figuring out, okay, what do I have to unlearn that's been taught to me about learning, and how
Yeah.
can I then learn a little bit more about my son, and through observations really cater this environment for them. And so for me, it was definitely a learning curve. It was a learning process. It didn't come like super easy, super natural. If you scroll down to my photos, you'll see a lot of like, I wonder if I'm doing this right.
You're
But
amazing.
as you go, and I'm sure you had that experience with King too. I've seen
Oh.
you progress over the extra months.
Yes, definitely. I feel like I approached it all wrong in the beginning, and I'm still learning even now. Like sometimes less is more. Like your
Mm-hmm.
activity with the toothpicks, because I often think about like expensive toys. Like we can't afford that,
Mm-hmm.
but then when you break it down, you just make it seem like so natural. It's like just use what you have to make an environment that's friendly for learning for them and meets them where they are at. But it's just like that constant unpacking in my brain to
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have to have a certain thing to teach him when that's not the case.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the big emphasis that I want to have on people is knowing that it's not about the toys, because any Montessori parent, whether they do have fancy toys or not, can tell you it's not about that. You can have a lineup of very beautiful, expensive toys,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to work if you're not observing your child and if you're not catering that environment to their needs. And so I like to say that, like, one way to start, like one way to really um, kind of bring a lot of into your home is by looking at how do you bring your child into what you're doing. So
Yes.
whether that's like the cooking, whether that's like the cleaning, whether that's him or her really figuring out what their space is going to look like. Are we
Mhm.
good?
Yeah.
I think we have a few
I don't know
minutes
how. I
left,
think
right?
we have a few minutes left.
Okay. So yeah, I do a lot of what we call practical life work in Montessori at home. And through that, they get so many rich learning experiences that they would probably also get from, some toys that would be extremely expensive.
Okay. And
Yeah.
one other question I wanted to ask that I know it comes up a lot is, can you practice like Montessori if you're not a stay-at-home mom?
Yes. So I will say I am a stay-at-home mom full time. And there are a lot of accounts out there. So if you need support, I'll DM me and I'll definitely share those with you. But a little Montessori can go a long way. And I
Okay.
think the reason for that is because, again, it's a parent's mental shift
Okay.
versus like anything else. It starts here, it starts with us. And if we can understand that, we can know that any little bit of Montessori can really go a long way, and it'll get easier over time. So parents who are working from home, definitely check me out, and I will support you in whatever way I can.
Okay, so we have like a minute and 54 seconds left. So is there anything else that you specifically wanted to share? This is just so good conversation, but
I
okay.
know. No, I just love when I see King doing all these new things. I see your process. So, I'm here for the people. Like, I'm here to make sure that you guys feel supported, that to not overcomplicate things, but also to understand that there are some things that we have to learn that we haven't been taught about, child development. So Just wanted to make, I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad that you guys
So
brought me
grateful.
on, but I'm just so grateful to kind of be in this position of support for our community.
Yeah, I'm just so, so, so grateful for you. And I am going to insert a little plug that I have a full long, like 20, 30 minute in
Yes.
detail video with Christina on my YouTube channel if anybody is interested in learning more about Montessori and how to get started. And it's just full of amazing tips. That's on my YouTube channel, Every Day with Raye. So
That was
y'all can
such a
check
fun
it
interview.
out. It was amazing, and it gives you lots of practical examples within it.
Yeah.
But we have like 30 seconds left. So I'm going to say thank you, Christina, for coming on. It's always so good to talk to you and to learn from you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the virtual SoKo. This was an amazing, amazing afternoon. And I just give thanks for being connected to so many beautiful people. And we are doing it. Like,
Yes.
this is so, let's hand that for us. Like, I'm just so grateful. Turn on your notifications for the giveaway, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.